Hello Dustomers, Derek here, and welcome to Descent into Avernus, the DM's Guide Part 2. The response to Part 1 seems to be really good, and there's been a lot of positive comments, so I thought we'd kick on and do a Part 2. Please, if there's anything that you would like me to cover that I didn't cover, please mention it in the comments, and if you'd like to get a notification of when these videos come out, please subscribe and press the like button and the notification button, and you'll get updates when I release new videos along these lines. So with that in mind, let's jump into it. So when we left our characters in the last session, they had gone to the Elfsong Tavern and they'd gotten the information from Tarina about who was sowing discord in the city and who was going out and murdering and making the Flaming Fists look bad. The players have a couple of options at this point. They can go back and report to Zodge, or they can just take it upon themselves to go and investigate the Bathhouse, which is a front for the operatives here. If they go back to Zodge, he basically sends them there in the same method anyway, so you can play that either way. On the way to the Bathhouse, the module suggests very strongly that they're going to need to be second level, and I would heartily agree with this. There is all sorts of dangers in the Bathhouse and below, and it's going to be very tough if they're not level 2. And I would definitely say, just to go off script at this point, that I'm always had a bit of a weird relationship with leveling up in D&D. It just seems strange to me that you finish an encounter or you kill a kobold and all of a sudden you have all of these new abilities and new things that you can do, and you're stronger and faster and better and have more spells, and I think I even made a joke about it when we were doing the recording of this, like you walk up the hill and you level up as you are walking up the hill, and the team was kind of, oh, let's walk up more hills. But it does have that kind of weird vibe to me, and certainly when I'm looking at there's home brews and rules in the optional rules in the DMG that say you have to train for a month or have a long rest before you can level up. I mean, all of that's good, and I guess I don't have the strength of my convictions to actually implement any of those things because part of Dungeons and Dragons is that it's a power fantasy, and leveling up is I think a little bit cheapened if you have to wait a month in order to get the benefits of it, or even overnight. So anyway, when the players do travel either from the Elfsong Tavern or the Basilisk Gate, it's probably going to take them a couple of hours in order to get to the Bathhouse, which is their next stop. The Bathhouse is not in the upper city, but it's still quite luxurious and beautiful, and it has this wonderful garden with all of these fountains, and it's very pretty, and there's people milling about. There are some guards that do look fairly serious, and you can certainly talk to them, and they will be fairly non-committal. But my team had a hilarious whole session, whole hour long, where they were taking massages and they were enjoying the baths, and somebody even found a fountain and made holy water, which was very useful in the adventure underneath. But they did spend quite a lot of time here, and I think there was a part of me that was going, they're asking all of these questions, they're hanging around, they're heavily armed, they're heavily armored, they're clearly odd looking people to be at a bathhouse. Maybe this is the time when they've asked one question too many and it would start a fight. I didn't go down that route because they were all having so much fun, and in the end of the day, I think that's what it's really there for. So I let them, enjoy the bathhouse and have all that fun and interrogate masseuses who don't know anything. I guess they don't know anything, and you could play it a different way where they are in on the whole. This is a front for the organisation that lives underneath, but totally up to you. So once they do get through this section and go down the stairs here. This is a really good opportunity to start to shift the narrative, and what I mean by that is they're in a beautiful, palatial, luxurious kind of scenario, and when they start going down these stairs, it's dank, it's smelly, it's the sewer. They need to start thinking about light sources for people who don't have dark vision, and you're 2 foot deep in basically sewer water. So I think that is a really good opportunity as a DM if you want to do something like shift the lighting or the physical lighting in the room, or kick in with a Sirenscape sound set of the sewers. That really helps change the mood a little bit. And so does this next bit. I was actually quite fortunate in my players didn't go down this route but went down the other route, and they found the secret door and entered the other section. And what sits in there is what I'm going to call a context item. And I use context items in just about every game that I play, every system that I play. They are wonderful for setting the mood of what's about to come. And I would really encourage everybody to think about them. Obviously, the designers of this did think about this, because what you find in room D6 is a bloated corpse lying face down in the water. And this isn't a battle. It's not it's not going to jump up and be a zombie or anything like that. It's just a creepy, odd, weird, frightening thing, and when they inspect it a little bit further, they also find that there are stab marks in the back of this, and this person has clearly been murdered from behind by someone he probably knew. So this gives you a really creepy vibe to the whole thing, and it certainly started to set the edge of the teeth, the teeth on edge of the players that I was playing with. So I would heartily recommend you. I'm even considering next time I play this to move that corpse into that first room to make sure that the people come across it. The rest of the dungeon, I won't go into too much detail about the ins and the outs of it. Definitely players are going to need to rest once, probably twice, before they finish it. My team certainly did. They had a short rest and then a long rest further in. So there's definitely a lot of danger and a lot of battles that are going to tax them quite dramatically. My favourite one is in D12, where you have there's a altar of Baal, Bane or Baal? Bane here. And there are two people, Kazira and what's the other guy's name? Yignath. And they're basically torturing a prisoner. And this is a really cool fight, and there's javelins being thrown and all sorts of stuff. But what I found amusing was at the end of the fight, there's a statue, a suit of armor there, and it has these two gauntlets that are magical. And as soon as you touch them or try to unchain the prisoner that they're torturing, the gauntlets fly off, and they're basically like flying swords. They do the same damage and are basically the same thing, but they're just mailed fists. And it's a great kind of almost comedic moment to this very serious room. I missed it. I believe that they had unshackled the prisoner, and that's when these things are supposed to activate. But I made them activate when they were futzing around with it and testing it. And my team had the hilarious idea of taking a bag of holding and basically El Toro bull rushing the fists into it and capturing them and using them later. I thought that was hilarious, and I can't even remember if I made them make rolls or anything like that, but I think it was an opposed grapple check or something. It's one of those moments where you go, gee, as a DM, you go, how do I figure this out? So that was really funny. I loved the ingenuity, and it's one of those moments where you kind of go, far out. I would never have thought of that as a player, and that's what makes this game so wonderful and enjoyable for me. So really enjoyed that section. The next bit that I wanted to talk about was this area of D18. There's a gas build-up here that it doesn't have a description in the book about this, but it does say that there's a rotten egg smell in here. And you have a DC 10 wisdom survival check roll to see if you can recognize that this is a flammable area before you go into it, and extinguish light sources that you have that produce a flame or create a spark. I think the game's designers wanted to make that a fairly easy roll, because if you've got a party of 4 or 5, somebody's going to roll above 10 on a wisdom check. And I think there's definitely a you can be fairly easy with the players there. I don't think this is meant to be a trap. I think this is much more meant to be a way of destroying the temple, which is what my team used it for, rather than a trap for the players. So that's that area. Going through here, you eventually get to this choke point. There's a secret door that you need to find in order to get to the rest of the thing. It's not a difficult thing to find because there's a guard sitting outside it and guarding the secret door. So, it's just a normal corridor otherwise, and there's this dude standing there for no apparent reason. So I think, again, there's a big hint there on behalf of the designers that this is an important juncture. And once you get into there, you come across a guy called Warlock van Thampure. And Warlock is a great character. I loved playing him. He's got this gravelly voice, and his face is all scarred because someone threw him in a fire when he was a boy. And so I had a lot of fun playing up this character and making him really interesting, and I think he's really there. He's absolutely there, designed to help the players get through the next chunk of the game. So it's really good that you save him. He's in a pitched battle that he's losing against a Baal cultist, and he becomes your friend and confidant, and you need to help him kill the bad guy who scarpers off into the next room. The next bit with him, the fight with the bad guy is, I wouldn't say that's particularly hard. My team had picked up another character along the way, and so they had essentially 6 people fighting in the group if you include this character that they'd befriended and Warlock. And Warlock is no slouch. They healed him up and put him back into the battle, and they killed the Baal cultist. So then once that's done, you can investigate the rooms that around the rooms that you found Warlock in. There's a bunch of treasure there. There's a bunch of stockpiles of weapons and things like that, and you can get to see what some of the Baal cultists, the dungeon of the Cult of the Dead 3, were amassing in order to sow discord amongst the city. And this is actually something that you kind of need to play up into, that the dungeon of the Cult of the Dead 3 were sowing discord in the city for a very specific reason. They were amping up the levels of anxiety and anger in the city for their own political purposes, so that it would be more easy for Baldur's Gate to be dragged down into Avernus, like what happened to Elturel. So you don't need to be explicit about it, but you do need to note that all of this equipment is being used to sow discord and mistrust in Baldur's Gate. It's important for the overarching story. The players may not get it right at this point, but it's worth noting to them and just making sure that they're aware that this sort of thing is going on. Then you can just leave the cult is broken up. You can just leave the dungeon at that point. My people were very keen to just annihilate it and wipe it off the face of the earth. So they set up a very elaborate kind of cute trap where one of the alchemist's robots would go down into the holding a candle into the gas and blow it up. So that was fun. And then there's this really weird thing, and it even seems weird in the book. It says, "Surprise, dragon cultists," and at the end of it, these cult of Tiamat people just appear and try and attack you. Now, there is reasoning for this in the overarching story. Some of the money that they are paying the cultists of the Dead 3 to sow discord, some of that money came from Tiamat's treasure hoard, and these guys are here to get it back. But it seems shoehorned in, and it's a bit weird, and I didn't bother with it because it just seemed like an excuse to have another fight, and I didn't feel like it had a lot of... I know that there are elements later on, but I don't know. We haven't seen these guys since the Horde of the Dragon Queen, and I feel like dragging them back into this felt like a weird homage to an adventure long past. So I didn't see the need to put them in, and didn't. You're welcome to, if it makes more sense, if you want to play up the dragon cult. But I think they had their shot in Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat, so I didn't bother. So that's it. That is Descent to Avernus DM's Guide Part 2. Please like, subscribe and comment. Would love to hear what you thought of this and what I missed or what I did wrong. More than happy to debate my DMing style with anyone. So please feel free to put those in the comments below. Thanks everybody. Talk to you next time.